Aha, do you even realize what you did this morning? Huh? That tiny, quiet move you made. Yeah, that one. It changed something bigger than you think. Oh, you probably brushed it off, didn't you? Just another boring sunrise. Nah, you shifted something in the air today. And trust me, he noticed. That smile wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. It was earned. You have no idea what kind of storm you survived before you even opened your eyes. No clue how your patience, your silence, your restraint turned into power. The kind of power that doesn't need noise to announce itself. The kind that makes the universe pause. The kind that makes consequence lean back, smirk, and whisper, "There, that's it. That's who you're becoming." Oh, you don't believe me? Keep watching. Because this isn't a story. It's a mirror. Every word you're about to hear, it's about you. The version of you that fights battles without applause. The version of you that walks through quiet wars the world will never understand. The version of you that doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't fold, just grows. This morning, something cracked. Not outside, inside. A shift, a choice. A flicker of discipline so small you didn't even feel it. But consequences did, and consequences always notice. You think you made a small decision? No, you made a declaration. A silent contract with a future that's been waiting for you to stop hesitating. And when you signed that contract with patience instead of noise, that's when he smiled. Not a person, not an enemy, no. Purpose. Purpose smiled. Because finally, you acted like someone who knows they're meant for more. You didn't chase the chaos. You didn't grab the distraction. You didn't let the world dictate your temperature. You chose calm. You chose clarity. You chose restraint. The rarest currency in a world addicted to noise. And trust me, restraint is a weapon. A silent one. One that shapes destiny without ever raising its voice. You think mornings are harmless? Just routines, alarms, and yawns? No. Mornings are where futures are written. Quietly, invisibly, deliberately. And today, you wrote a line in your story that changed the entire chapter. Because somewhere between waking up and taking your first step, you said no to something that used to own you. Maybe it was a thought, maybe it was a habit, maybe it was a reaction, but you didn't give it control. You didn't let it win. You held the line. And that right there is why the air felt different today, why the room felt lighter, why your reflection looked unfamiliar for a second. You weren't just awake, you were aware of yourself, aware of your choices, aware of the storm you didn't let inside your mind. People think strength is loud fists, fire, rage. No, the loudest strength is the kind that doesn't show off, the kind that doesn't need praise, the kind that stays quiet while everything inside you begs to erupt. That's what you did this morning, and that's why consequence smiled, because it takes courage to stay calm when your emotions want to scream. It takes discipline to hold your ground when your impulses pull at your sleeve. It takes power, real power, to choose stillness over reaction. There was a moment today, a split-second test. Tiny, forgettable. But tests don't wait for permission. They strike in silence. You didn't know you were being tested. You didn't know the universe was watching. But you passed, not because you fought, but because you didn't. You didn't give in to the noise. You didn't feed the chaos. You didn't let outside voices dictate your inner world. You chose your standards, and that choice shook something unseen. You know what's funny? The world fears silence when it comes from someone who used to be loud. It doesn't know what to do with your calm now. Your stillness feels dangerous to them, not because you changed your tone, but because you changed your intention. You're not reacting anymore. You're responding. You're not surviving. You're steering. You're no longer the passenger of your mornings. You're the driver of your day. And once you take the wheel, everything changes. You want to know why he noticed? Why purpose smiled? Because you finally stopped chasing validation. You stopped needing the world to clap for your progress. You stopped performing for people who don't even hear their own noise. You shifted from seeking approval to approving your own growth. And when a person reaches that state, that rare, unshakable zone, oh, destiny pays attention. It starts rerouting paths. It starts opening doors. It starts clearing obstacles. Not because you beg for them to move, but because you grew too big for them to block. That's why the air felt different today. That's why your mind felt clearer. That's why the day didn't feel as heavy. You stepped into intention, and intention rewrites everything. Listen, there's a version of you, a stronger, wiser, calmer version waiting behind every morning decision you make. And this morning, you finally met them. You didn't recognize it, but they did. Your higher self, your future self, the one who's been waiting for years for you to stop breaking yourself for people who don't even understand your value. You made one quiet choice, and suddenly, that version stepped forward. That's why consequence smiled, because your actions matched your potential for the first time in a long time. You think change is dramatic, explosive, grand? No, change is microscopic. It happens in quiet corners of your mind. It happens at sunrise when no one's cheering. It happens in your restraint. It happens in your breath. It happens in that single moment when you choose patience over chaos. That's where new lives begin. This morning, you didn't just choose discipline. You chose direction. You positioned yourself on a path where noise can't reach you anymore, where distractions lose their flavor, where validation feels cheap compared to self-respect, where impulse bows to intention. And once you enter that state, everything fake begins to fall away. People who once got reactions out of you, silenced. Habits that once controlled you, starved. Thoughts that once consumed you, shrunk. Because you chose strength in its purest form, silence with purpose. Not silence from fear, not silence from avoidance, but silence born from knowing your worth. A silence that doesn't retreat at commands. That's the silence you carried today. And trust me, people feel that. The world feels that. Life itself feels that. And that's why he smiled. Now listen closely. Your calm today wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of a pattern that will build a version of you unrecognizable to the person you used to be. A version who doesn't break under pressure. A version who doesn't fold under opinions. A version who doesn't waste energy explaining their worth. A version who wakes up and chooses destiny over distraction. Today was step one, and step one is always the hardest. But you took it, quietly, effortlessly, beautifully. This morning, you didn't just survive, you evolved. And evolution. Oh, evolution always begins with a quiet spark. Now, before we go deeper, I want you to do one thing. Comment below. Tell me, do you remember the moment? That little decision you made this morning? Or did you only feel the shift afterward? Because whether you noticed or not, that moment noticed you. And after today, your mornings will never be the same again. So you think that moment was small, huh? That tiny breath of discipline you barely remember? Oh no, that was the first domino. The first crack in the old version of you. The kind of crack that doesn't make noise but rewrites everything underneath. And now the shift is unfolding. One silent ripple at a time. You didn't notice, but the world did. Not literally, not with eyes or ears, but with energy. Because energy responds to intention, always. This morning, your intention was different. Sharper, cleaner, focused. You didn't just wake up, you arrived. And that presence, that steadiness, that refusal to break, it sent a message louder than shouting, clearer than explanation, heavier than excuses. A message that said, I choose my direction today, not my impulses, not my fear, not the noise around me, me. You have no idea how rare that is. Most people wake up and hand their day to chaos. They let distractions steer them. They let insecurity narrate their thoughts. They let impulses answer for them. But you chose differently. And that difference, that subtle shift, that quiet defiance, it didn't just change your mood, it changed your trajectory. That's why Consequence smiled, because it saw something you brushed off, something you treated like nothing. But discipline knows the truth. Tiny choices decide the fate, bigger choices simply reveal. You think you're the same? You're not. You're walking through the world today with a new gravity, not the loud kind. The kind people feel before they understand. That's why the room seemed different. That's why conversations felt lighter. That's why your thoughts weren't as messy. Your energy cleaned the space before your voice ever entered it. Because the moment you master your morning, you begin mastering your life. Oh, they won't understand it. They'll feel it, but they won't grasp it. They'll say, you're quieter, more distant, more focused, more selective. Good. Let them guess. Because the truth is simple. You're not quieter, you're deeper, you're not distant, you're intentional. You're not cold, you're in control. And control, real control, is rare. Rare enough that the world mistakes it for something else. You're realizing now that silence isn't the absence of power, it's the presence of mastery. It's the moment your emotions kneel before your awareness. The moment your old habits no longer pull your strings. The moment your mind stops reacting and starts choosing. That's evolution. The kind you don't brag about. The kind you don't announce online. The kind that grows in places no one sees. Mornings, thoughts, breaths. You passed a test today that wasn't written in words. A test that required strength disguised as softness. Patience disguised as surrender. Restraint disguised as stillness. You think stillness is passive? No. Stillness is strategic. Stillness is preparation. Stillness is the moment a storm learns how to walk with purpose. And you, my friend, you took your first step into that storm today. That's why he smiled. The symbolic he. The one who represents consequence, destiny, inevitability. Because you showed a version of yourself he's been waiting for. The one that doesn't crumble under pressure. The one that doesn't chase noise for comfort. The one that doesn't need applause to feel real. You realized something powerful. You realized that approval is cheap, validation is temporary, noise fades. But discipline? Discipline compounds. Your morning was proof of it, a single moment, a single choice. And suddenly your entire day shifted like it was waiting for that green light from you. You shaped the day, not the other way around. And now, whether you believe it or not, you've entered a new stage. A stage where your silence becomes sharper than your anger. Your patience becomes louder than your frustration. Your decisions become stronger than your emotions. That's the stage where transformation becomes permanent. You see, most people don't fail because of their fears. They fail because of their mornings. The first 5 minutes, the first reaction, the first impulse, the moment where the mind hasn't fully woken up, but the soul is already listening. This morning you told your soul something new. You told it, I choose me today. And that single message, it unlocked something ancient inside you, potential. Potential you buried under years of noise. Potential you forgot you carried. Potential that woke up today with you. That's why your thoughts felt clearer. That's why the pressure felt lighter. That's why your reflection looked different, like someone who finally remembered who they're supposed to be. And now, here's the truth you don't want to hear, but need to. There's no going back. Once you taste discipline, chaos becomes bitter. Once you taste clarity, confusion feels cheap. Once you feel growth, comfort loses its appeal. You crossed a line today. Not an obvious one, not a dramatic one, a silent one. The line between who you were and who you're becoming. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. You can't undo it. And that scares people. Not because they think you'll outgrow them, but because deep down, they know you already have. You're moving into a space they can't follow. A space defined by intention. A space built on self-control. A space where emotions don't drag you, they obey you. This is where power begins. Not in noise, not in dominance, not in shouting your worth, in knowing your worth so deeply that silence speaks for you. That's what this morning activated. A version of you who doesn't negotiate with distraction. A version who doesn't chase the temporary warmth of validation. A version who doesn't need to be seen to be strong. You've become someone who builds in the dark, grows in the quiet, and rises without asking. And that's why he smiled, because he knows what comes next. The world's reaction. The shift in how people speak to you. The sudden respect. The quiet curiosity. The subtle fear not of you, but of what your discipline reveals about them. Your growth forces mirrors into their hands. And most people don't like mirrors. They show too much. They expose too much. They tell the truth too clearly. You've become a living mirror now. A reminder of what happens when someone chooses themselves every morning. A reminder that growth doesn't require noise, it requires consistency. And soon, people will feel your presence before they hear your voice. That's the level of power you're stepping into. Power earned through silence, not sound. But listen, this is where most people slip. They rise once, then fall back into chaos because the world distracts them. Not you, not after today, not after feeling this shift. You're too aware now, too conscious, too aligned. This morning wasn't luck. It was a beginning. And beginnings like this don't come often. So here's what I want you to do right now. Breathe. Feel that calm sitting behind your chest. Feel that awareness humming under your skin. Feel that clarity whispering, there's more. Keep going. Because this is just the start. A single morning, a single choice, a single shift. And yet it awakened a version of you that's been silent for too long. A version that's ready now, ready to rise, ready to build, ready to lead your life instead of reacting to it. So before this ends, you already know what time it is. Comment below. Tell me your moment. Tell me the decision. Tell me the silence that shaped your day. Because trust me, it mattered. He noticed. Your future noticed. And now, it's your turn to notice too. Your quiet victories are building someone unstoppable, someone disciplined, someone unshakable, someone who doesn't just survive mornings, they define them. And that right there is why he smiled. Because today, you finally became the version of you the world isn't ready for, but you are.